Hi there, and welcome to another episode of SidekickTV. I'm your host, Ric Thorpe. In today's episode, we're joined by Luke from Resure Insurance Advisors, and he's talking to us about KiwiSaver and how important it is to get the right advice when you're in KiwiSaver, because it really can make the difference of tens of thousands of dollars. So again, if you enjoy this episode, please do like and subscribe. Cheers. So today, talking to Luke from Resure Insurance Advisors, and again, we're talking about KiwiSaver and what self-employed and small business owners need to be aware of to make good decisions, for themselves and for their teams. So, Luke, kick us off. You wanted to start with a bit of a case study that you recently came across, hey?
Yeah, absolutely. So the lack of advice around KiwiSavers for New Zealanders, it's quite low. A lot of clients that we're dealing with at the moment, they may have had advice from the bank on what fund to be in, but the bank's job is to keep you as a client, whereas for us, we're looking to make sure we're making you the big bickies, and making sure that you're going to have a good retirement or a good house deposit for your KiwiSaver. So one client that I dealt with, he was quite a young fella. He was roughly 30. Already bought his first home, so he's locked into age 65 now. This is where we get the massive growth, over that 35 years left till retirement. Rightly so, he was in that ASB conservative fund, coming in to buy that house, which is great. That's kind of the right plan for his needs. The only downside was he just didn't look at it once he bought that first home. So this client here, he was in the ASB conservative fund, 35 years till retirement. Once we looked down and actually had a look at the numbers, he was probably costing himself hundreds of thousands of dollars come the age 65. It was a massive difference by literally just looking at what fund you're in and what provider you're with.
It is amazing. And like you say, at the point in time just before the purchase of the house, conservative, potentially a good idea because it gives you certainty.
Absolutely.
You're not going to get ups and downs of 10% in a day in that type of fund. But yeah, if left unmonitored, you'd have a very predictable low outcome over the next 35 years. Hey,
the difference it makes, it's hard to comprehend. Those small differences from your conservative fund might be around that 4%, 5%, maybe 6% in a good quarter, compared to those 10-year averages in the aggressive sector of 10%. It makes a massive difference come age 65. Like if you think of it as like your mortgage, that's a 7% potential difference over the next 30 years. That's a massive difference.
You wouldn't be signing up for a 10% mortgage.
No, you would not.
Whereas because the difference would be astronomical. Fascinating. Well, good way of looking at it. And I suppose the key thing that comes back to is timing. Timing determines everything when it comes to money, doesn't it? So so tell me, where are people getting or not getting this advice from at the moment?
Yeah, we're dealing with a lot of clients at the moment that you might touch base with them and like say, oh yeah, we've had advice around our KiwiSaver. It's like, oh cool. So where are you at the moment? Oh, just at the bank. The bank's goal when you talk to them about the KiwiSaver is to keep you on as a client. All they will discuss is what fund is right for you. And that's great. That is 50% of it. But looking at the other 50% is what provider is best for you. And it's obviously looking. We work with quite a range of providers, and we're able to give you independent advice to make sure you're with the right provider, in the right fund, and on track to meet your financial goals.
Great. And I think a lot of this comes down to as well, like coaching, terminology, what people feel comfortable with.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like we were just talking off air, and if you watch a few of these videos, you'll have heard this numerous times now, but it's the difference between talking about risk and talking about volatility. Or it's certainty or conservatism. That's fine if your horizon's a day, but if your horizon's 35 years, It's a totally different discussion, isn't it?
Yeah, we were talking off air about, a lot of people hear that aggressive sector, for, your KiwiSaver, and they think, oh, no, I'm not an aggressive investor. That's, too much risk. That's not me.
Yeah, I'm not going to gamble with my KiwiSaver, but...
Yeah, absolutely. I love the way that Generate do it. They call it that focused growth fund rather than aggressive. It is still that aggressive, different, same allocation as the aggressive sector, but just rebranding that to appeal for the clients, just because a lot of us, and I was the same before I joined this industry. I don't like taking risk, I don't like it, but over those 35 years the risk is near none.
Yeah,
because you may see that volatility in the short term, but it's always long term trending up. Yeah.
We in one of the other videos that's been, well, if you're watching this, it's the other one's probably been released. Okay, so it's with guys at Hamilton Hinden Green, and they were talking about the psychology of the investment, because it's all money's emotion, and how you engage with money is how you engage with life often, and you don't typically label yourself as aggressive, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So it's really off-putting, and if you think, yes, I'm conservative, that might resonate well with you, but actually when you think about having half or a third of the returns you could have for 35 years, the words can be used in opposite.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why I think it's so important working with an advisor to kind of explain those differences, and kind of giving you reassurance that you're not taking a massive gamble. You're not going to the casino and putting it on black. You're actually making a good financial decision. And it's also, once you get closer to retirement, looking to drop that back down. Because that's when the benefits aren't outweighing the cost. But while you're still young, it is so important to take a little bit more risk, but obviously high returns with your KiwiSaver.
Yeah, great. And the thing is as well, like I say, the target market here is self-employed business owners. Typically, you're making more financial decisions every day. A lot more so than a typical wage earner. And that brings us on to the kind of last point about you were talking about. It's not quite group schemes that you do, but you engage with groups, don't you, to try and spread this message wider?
Yeah, we've been doing a lot of workplace presentations recently, where we engage with the manager, the owner, whoever is kind of making those decisions, and just coming into the workplace and having a chat about KiwiSaver. We can bring in beers, a bit of food, and having just a quick chat around it, and just making sure that your employees are well looked after. And we're obviously concerned for financial well-being in New Zealand. We want to make sure that everyone's going to have an enjoyable retirement and not stressed about money. And I think a lot of companies, they do care about, your physical and mental well-being, and we kind of neglect the financial well-being. And obviously they all, work together. So we've been doing a lot of it recently, where we'll go in, do the presentation, grab your name and number if you want to be contacted, and just looking to see if we can help you out. And with the economic times at the moment, it's such a good value add for employers. It doesn't cost you anything, no obligation for your employees. It's such a good value add. Yeah.
And at worst, it's an education.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
What kind of questions, or what kind of what's your experience in talking to these teams? Because I know we've got kids that were born this century. In fact, actually, when were you born? This century?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. Right, okay. So they've had less exposure to this stuff. So what people of your age, what's their level of financial acumen and understanding?
Near none. It's quite poor, and I don't know if coming through school and university, you kind of it doesn't really get talked about, and without financial advice, you may be reliant on your parents or your peers or your neighbour to give you advice around your finances, and it's probably not the best for you. So obviously trying to educate people with their finances, it's obviously hopefully will help our mental and physical well-being.
Totally. And another thing I think about the younger generation is I just see headline after headline, and I think it's absolute nonsense, but around youngsters not believing that they'll ever own a home.
Yes. Yeah. So that's obviously a huge topic at the moment with these house prices increasing every, whatever, 10 years, doubling, whatever the stat is, it is quite daunting. And what we do recommend with clients who do have young kids is potentially setting them up with a KiwiSaver. It's a massive leg up for your kid to come, obviously they can't withdraw it for university, can't withdraw it for their first car. They can only withdraw it, for that first home. And everyone knows, your first home is quite a good investment for retirement. Property, NZ, we're property mad. We love property. And I think it is a great investment, especially long-term for retirement. But yes, it is becoming unattainable for us young ones. Yeah, so I think, having a KiwiSaver as a kid, obviously working with a financial advisor and the right fund. Obviously, you don't have that government contributions until you hit 18, but just, $5 a week, $10 a week, gives them a massive leg up compared to their peers.
You still get that compounding benefit of growth. Yeah. And that's it. I mean, it is not a truism that young people won't own a home, but I do believe it's true that if you will never save for a home, you'll never buy a home.
Yeah.
And KiwiSaver can be, in some cases, a great way to do that. Excellent. So what would be your parting advice now for a self-employed person that's, perhaps not utilising their KiwiSaver opportunity?
Probably parting advice is seek financial advice. We have helped a lot of self-employed people who have potentially neglected their KiwiSaver over the last 5-10 years. And they're trying to play catch up at this point, The earlier you can seek financial advice, the better. Whether that be contributing that minimum $21 a week to make sure you're getting the most out of that government, free government money, or making sure you're in the right fund for your time frame, and with the right provider. Just seeking financial advice is so important.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, it's a complex thing. It's not the kind of thing that I'd expect anyone to absolutely nail on their own.
Yeah. Absolutely. That's why even financial advisors ourselves, we're in our own sectors. I wouldn't be able to give you mortgage advice. I wouldn't be able to give you general insurance advice because that's where we focus on. It's far too complex.
Yeah.
Seek help.
Yeah, definitely. Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, Luke. That's great. And I hope you've found this video interesting and you've learned something from it. And as always, if you have enjoyed it, please do like and subscribe where you're watching or listening to this. Thanks very much. Cheers. Welcome to Sidekick TV. I'm your host, Ric Thorpe. Sidekick TV is the place for Kiwi business owners and entrepreneurs to learn all about finance, accounting, and how to run and operate a business in New Zealand. We're going to interview experts from the finance realm and fellow Kiwi business owners. Stay tuned.